I'm dreaming of a white Christmas. Hello, everyone. This is David Ellis, and I'm back with Dr. Amir Jahangiri. And I woke up this morning with that song in my head because outside my window, there's a whole bunch of snow. And I dreamt about it. And that's the topic of today's broadcast, Tips and Tricks. We're dealing with dreaming. Dream interpretation. What do they mean? Should we ignore them? Or should we take them as a communication from other realms and what they will actually mean if you actually take your dreams seriously and use them wisely and purposefully dream and lucid dream and or what all these terms mean? So before we get into this, Amir, talk to these people.
Thank you, David. Ladies and gentlemen, my warmest greetings to you. I hope you're doing exceptionally well. And well, funny enough, I was dreaming last night about drumming. I was sitting around a circle with these whole bunch of shamans and I was drumming in a way and they were really liking it. So I still have to figure out what that means. But talking about dreams, some of these are really significant. Some of them may not be. So we can look into how to identify those dreams that are very meaningful and significant and those that are probably, in the words of Scrooge, a piece of sausage not being digested properly. Yes, so there are all kinds of dreams. Some of them are wacky, some of them are miraculous. And so, yes, David, let's dive into different kinds, from the sausage type to the really angelic type.
Yeah, so we're going to approach this from many different angles. I'm going to approach this from the psychotherapeutic angle. Amir's probably going to approach this from the metaphysical angle. There are different classes of dreams. Not all dreams are created equal. So let's start with the daydream. You know, you're in a bus station and you're thinking about your childhood, and then all of a sudden you are there. You're climbing trees and everything is like so happy. And the reason why you're thinking about your childhood is primarily because you probably have a mascot in a bus station somewhere and everybody looks frightened and you could feel the fear of everybody else. And so it triggers the need or the want to go to a place, a happy place, when times were simpler and times were happier. Instead of being in a bus station, let's say in a populated city like Toronto, New York, or wherever, and seeing people with this angst on them. So you try to run back to when times were simpler. That is called a daydream. I'm not quite sure why it's called a daydream, because daydreams can happen at any time of the day, including the night. But what they're trying to say is that you're awake while you are having this dream. So you're just moved into alpha state, or what we call the daydream state, when you are having this dream. And as a result of that, guys, daydreams are very useful. They are very useful. They take you away from where you are. If I was to torture you by singing, as an example, you might want to be someplace else. And the daydream function in your mind is specifically geared towards taking you elsewhere. So in terms of the daydream function, Amir, what do you got to say about that?
Absolutely. It's kind of like a survival mechanism, as you mentioned. Somebody could be in a place of extreme hardship or sorrow, and our psyche has this ability to relieve itself from some of the torment by going to places in the past that are pleasant, memories of childhood, for example, where you had wonderful experiences, or maybe even worlds that are non-physical, so we can travel the cosmos and experience wonderful things just to get out of that moment of torment and hardship. And so, yes, it's one of those things that could probably be close to intentionally induced shamanic journeys, because again, the consciousness is traveling. We're going to places and experiencing things that are not physically right here and now. However, they're very significant. Now, whether it's triggered by the mind automatically or done through a certain methodology of ceremony, for example. It would be similar zones of consciousness where we are able to do this kind of traveling. So whether we call it dreaming or shamanic journeying or some sort of a metaphysical experience, the mind goes into the same zones of operation. You mentioned the alpha state, absolutely, when we're calm and relaxed. And so they do have a function. Now, going at it from a metaphysical point of view, well, many of you, esteemed ladies and gentlemen, are aware of the fact that we have allies in the seen and unseen worlds. And so these zones of consciousness are very, very conducive to successful communication. So you may have spirit guides. Let's just call them allies, okay? Their nature may vary greatly, but there is something that you need to know. Maybe a caution, maybe a word of love and encouragement. So again, these zones of consciousness, whether automatically accessed by the body and the mechanism, the living body that is a miracle of creation, or whether we learn how to do this through ritual and certain techniques, they could be extremely beneficial. So that's the daydream part.
Yep, that is the daydream part. So I suppose we should move on to simple reporting dreams. The reason why we term them simple reports is that they don't actually, it's your brain trying to communicate the events of the day, things that were left unresolved during the day. You will experience them at night, okay? Things that were left unsaid. As in the case of you have your crush in the office or wherever else, and your crush comes up to speak to you, and the crush, you're talking to your crush and you say something like, oh, you know, I really want to go see that movie that came out. And your crush says, oh my God, I love the movie. And then you're stuck. And you're like, I should invite her out, or I should invite him out to the movie, but I'm stuck. And then your crush goes like, well, I gotta get back to work, and flies away after a moment of awkward silence. You are going to re-experience that event at night, where you will actually try to fix it. And that's what we call simple reporting, because it was unresolved, you missed something, and your brain holds it and it says, you know what? Your brain is probably saying, God, you're an idiot. I'm going to make you experience this in a few hours again, so that you learn something. Simple reporting is absolutely necessary for people who are pent up. If you are the kind of person who's a recluse or you're insular, simple reporting is going to be very, very, very much accentuated in your mind, because you're living reality inside. So it's a good function in that it teaches you the mistakes that you made, and it actually is one of the steps on the mystic ladder, except it's called journaling. You do it before you go to sleep, right? You don't wait until you get into the dream world. But when it becomes too much, as in your whole night is filled with things that are left unsaid for years and years and years, then it becomes a pathology. And then you end up in my office and we work your stuff out using hypnosis, and you give me a lot of work to do. So for those of you who are insular, who don't speak, who do not express, we spoke about the voice some time ago, I can't remember. For those of you who don't speak, who don't express, guys, simple reporting is useful, but it is also not so cool at when it gets to a point where you can't even experience anything else but the simple reporting in your dream states. Amir, what do you think about that?
Well, absolutely. I completely agree with this. And unfortunately, these kinds of dreams may last for years and years and years. Now, depending on what the nature of that event that we quote unquote got wrong is. And it can become an absolute problem overriding natural peaceful sleep and other types of dreams that we're probably going to get into shortly. And it becomes so severe that the person cannot sleep restfully anymore. So yes, again, expression. So it's some part of the psyche deep down, that intelligence in the subconscious mind and the precognitive parts of the mind trying to resolve something on its own. It's sort of like a red flag coming up on your operating system. Hey, buddy, something here you need to address. Hey, buddy, something. And if you don't, it's like, say you need to do an update on your operating system and you keep just not doing this. And maybe then you miss security updates and the system starts working wrong. So with this analogy, it's the consciousness trying to do some sort of a self-correction. And it's absolutely important that you find a way to understand this language, which is being used in the dreams to communicate these meanings. So maybe some sort of symbology comes up. Events you see in these dreams never actually happened, but it's the deeper layers of the psyche trying to communicate with you a certain type of meaning or a certain profound sort of knowledge. And if you leave it, it's going to become a bigger problem later on down the line. So David very powerfully, correctly mentioned journaling. Having somebody to confide in and just let this out, hearing yourself speak. If you don't have that, maybe record your stuff through the journal or a tape recorder, voice recorder on your phone, and then listen back to it. You'll be surprised at the information that you just uttered, that you just communicated. Once you allow that mechanism of, that linguistic mechanism of expression to work, it kind of unlocks these, like a treasure chest that you finally twist the key in and open the lid and you see the gold glittering. So yes, that would be something very common. All of us have these or have experienced them at some point in our life.
Yep. I think I want to move on to lucid dreaming next. What is a lucid dream? Well, a lucid dream is when you're lucid and you're dreaming, literally and figuratively. So you're fully awake, you're fully cognizant that you're dreaming, but you're experiencing a dream state, a dreamscape. And lucid dreams are in that spectrum of dreams which are reporting from the unseen world into your reality, but you are experiencing them in full conscious state. And for those of you who have lucid dreams, which y'all call visions, oh my gosh, like lucid dreams are visions. For those of you who have lucid dreams, which y'all call visions, my advice to y'all is that whatever you're doing when you're experiencing a lucid dream, stop doing it and deal with the dream. I don't care if you are in court about to get sentenced, deal with the dream. I don't care if you're in church about to give a sermon, stop what you're doing and deal with the dream. Because the dream that is being communicated to you, that communication that you're having is more important than whatever you're about to do. And it's usually, some of the times, not all of the times, is a warning as to the possible effects of what you're about to do. So the jury's out on how lucid dreams happen. There's an argument to be had that it's actually entities speaking to you, telling you, hey, stop, your guides, stop, stop, stop. Let's talk about this. There is that. Or it could be that you're about to do something and you've dialed 0 for the operator of the universe. Yeah. And once you dial 0, whether consciously or unconsciously, and somebody picks up on the other end, you better listen. Listen to the dream, okay? Because you may have dialed 0 or that person may have called you in. But whatever it is, that dream is more important than whatever you're doing in this reality. Trust me when I tell you this. Lucid dreams have saved people from impending peril. I know in my personal life, lucid dreams has saved me from a lot of things, So for those of you who have visions, every time I say that, it sounds so esoteric and so on when it's just a natural phenomenon. For those of you who have visions, Pay attention to them, because here's the rule of the unseen world. If you ignore it, it goes away.
Yes.
When you pay attention to it, it amplifies. Amir, over to you.
That's absolutely correct. It is like a bargain, a handshake, an initial friendship, or a request of a friendship by your allies up there, ascended beings, very elevated beings. That's saying, okay, look at this human in this form. They don't really know what's going on, but let's give them a little diamond or a nugget of gold as a sign of friendship. Let's see what the human does with it. Now, if the human says, oh, this is awesome, and then throws it in the gutter, well, put yourself in the place of that ascended master or elevated being. Look at this whatsoever, what and what not. I give them something profound and precious beyond value, beyond valuation. Look what they do with it. Now, it's different if the human takes that nugget and invests it wisely and betters their life and helps others with it. A lot of the time, it's something of that nature. So having that attitude of good manners, oh my God, good manners, guys. This is so important, because the conscious mind is limited in its capacity. It can just go so far. So from the point of view of ascended beings, your allies on the other side, on other dimensions and domains, humans look slow and stupid. Now, if you add bad manners to that, you're going to be completely unattractive to these guys. So you're rude, slow, and stupid, and probably aggressive too. So you see, it's important how you conduct yourself when these gifts are being shown to you initially. Show dignity, moral fortitude, good character, gratitude, manners, more will come. Because these guys, let's just, for lack of a better word, say up there, they're highly invested in the highest good of all. They gain great satisfaction, dare I say, relief, when they can remove some suffering or some burden from one human or humanity as a whole. So they're in it because it is their nature. So you become an ally on this realm, on this domain, physical reality, which is the toughest realm of them all. So they would really like to have allies on this realm. So if you conduct yourself correctly, you'll get more and more of it. David mentioned warnings of future danger or something horrible about to happen. But it could be messages of profound healing, beauty, grace, knowledge that you will not believe, knowledge that is not of this earth. So it's really important, as my esteemed colleague mentioned, that you absolutely take this stuff seriously. There is nothing that you're doing in the daily grind that is more important than what is about to come from higher realms, from allies.
Yep. And the thing about it is that most people, they disrespect their visions, not realizing that the vision is a power unto itself. I suppose we should move on to the precognitive dream. A precognitive dream is a window into a possible future that is opened to you for the purpose of making you aware of the future based on the timeline that you are on. And so the question is going to be, gee, how do I know it's a precognitive dream? When the elements of the dream that you are in fit absolutely perfectly with the events of what you are doing right now, and there is a result at the end of it that hasn't happened in the present, it's a precognitive dream. Simple. I'm going to repeat that for those of you who didn't get that. If it is that I was going for a job interview tomorrow, and I dreamt about the job interview in my dream, and the questions that are going to be asked to me and the eventual result, should I answer it in a particular way? And the result was, let's say, less pleasant or pleasant, as the case may be, then I know what I need to change when I go into the job interview tomorrow. Does that make any sense? Because people like to think of the future as cemented. It's not, it's always evolving. That is a scientific and a metaphysical fact. So my suggestion to you guys who are experiencing precognitive dreams and don't know what they are is, do the events of the dream line up with the events of what is happening with an eventual result? If the result is unpleasant to you, you need to change something because that's coming. It's coming. The problem with precognitive dreams is that it might, I use the example of a job interview the next day. But here's the thing. It might be a job interview in 10 years from now. That's the problem. And then you will forget the precognitive dream, which is why journaling and writing your dreams down is absolutely important. We live in a world of technology. Get your cell phone, record it, do whatever you need to do as soon as you remember it, because it's going to come in handy in the future when it is lining up. So that's the problem with precognitive dreams, but here the rule applies as well. Pay attention, take heed, take advice in your precognitive dreams. See what you did. If you did not like the result, remember to do something different. When you are precognitive and you're seeing the possible futures, let me tell you, being able to see possible futures is gold. It's gold. It means that you can actually avoid negative consequences if you act right or you change something else. Amir, let us know what you think about that.
Absolutely. So, ladies and gentlemen, the mechanism that David just described, which is termed as precognitive ability or the precognitive force, is exactly the mechanism that is currently used in creating artificial intelligence. Mm-hmm. So you create branches into all possible futures, which is called regression trees, all different combinations, and then each outcome is evaluated. The one that is optimized is chosen and the rest are dropped. Mm-hmm. Or you could have the same sort of thing with genetic algorithms, where genes split into certain combinations, mm-hmm. Survival of the fittest occurs, and then the others are dropped. We see the same mechanism in nature, where we have again the survival of the fittest. This is something built into our structure. It's an ability that all of us have. You see this probably with grandmasters of chess that think 20 moves ahead, all possible combinations of moves that can happen, and then they choose the strategy that suits them the best. Now, when it comes to precognitive dreams, or let's say visions, let's name it whatever, that's beyond the point. What is important is that we have this ability to look into the future, very powerfully so, see outcomes that we desire, and then comes in our ability to manifest those outcomes with knowledge. So it is a very, very powerful mechanism that, well, requires practice like anything else. In point of fact, David is a grand master at this. I've never seen anybody do it like David does, right? You see him kind of going into that zone and you can see the bulbs going on and off, and suddenly, boom, some outcome manifests that you wouldn't even dream of. So yes, it's a great skill. And David, I'd appreciate if you could give our esteemed audience some starting points and how to move towards mastering this skill.
A lot of people, when it is that they interact with people or they interact with the universe kind of like a ship on an ocean. The tide may go this way, the tide may go that way, whatever. I'm just going to end up wherever it is. If you are that kind of person, I want you to try something different. The next person you speak to or are going to speak to, think of all possible outcomes for every possible thing that could be said. I know what you're thinking. Hell no, that's taking a lot of time. Try to think of 3 outcomes. 3. Start with 3. Start with 3. Okay? Somebody's about to ask you a question. Start with yes, no, or maybe. like a computer. Yes, no, or maybe. The thing about technology is that we can only create what's inside ourselves.
Yeah.
So binary code is zeros and ones, zeros and ones. So let's augment this practice for the human being. Yes, no, or maybe. Somebody's about to give me a proposal. Yes, no, or maybe. What does yes mean? What does no mean? What does maybe mean? And what are the possible outcomes and results? See, I'm only starting you off with 3. You get better at this, you could have thousands of outcomes, but you got to train your mind from the beginning. Yes, no, or maybe. Okay. Is it a yes? Is it a no? Is it a maybe? Who knows? And always freeze the question back to yourself as to a yes, no, or maybe, and start with that. Start with that. And then you will see that your mind suddenly realizes you have unlocked something in your mind. You've unlocked the value of permutation analysis. Permutations. Because the yes, no, or maybe you can see what's going to happen, or you can begin to see what's going to happen, and then it becomes very augmented, and then your brain picks it up as a reflex. Your brain picks it up as a reflex, and it runs like that. And let me tell you, when it runs like that, you can actually see the possibilities. You are in a grocery store, as an example. I go to the grocery store. I see a Walmart employee as an example, and the Walmart employee has a look on their face. So now I have to think that I need to find something in Walmart. Okay, especially if you're not familiar with the store. And I need to ask this person. So I look at this individual and then I think of the possible outcomes for every question. Hi, miss. Can I find XYZ? That person may be harried. That person may have had a bad day. Second option. Hi, how are you? Can I find XYZ? That person may be lit up by that thing. But if I say, hey, how are you doing today? You good? You're looking a bit under the weather and so on. No, I'm okay, whatever else. Yeah, no, I was just looking for something and I don't know where to find it. And I'm so stupid, it might be right in front of me. I don't know. And I'm sorry to bother you. Listen to the gradations that I went through. Listen to what I went through. Do you see what I went through? When I went to that person, I started with, I want this. 2, I want this, and in return, I'm going to give you a smile and happiness. 2, I want this. I'm going to give you a smile and happiness in return. And I'm going to ask about your well-being, because probably nobody has asked you about your well-being because you're wearing a uniform and they figure you're a service personnel. You guys feel me? Do you see how I have augmented the possible outcomes of things that are happening? And then I tagged on, I may be stupid. It may be right in front of me. I'm pretty much blind. Allowing that person to get into the space where the best parts of them can manifest, as in where they're helping somebody else, not just as an employee, but as a human being. You guys see what my mind went through there? That's how you train your mind to understand and to interact based on permutation analysis for the best possible outcome that you can have. And so I want to tell you guys this is how you develop a different kind of way of being, right? Start with the 3 yes, no, maybes, and then you augment and you grow and you expand, and all the possible branches and trees of outcomes become more enhanced. I suppose we should go on to the nightmare next. I'm sorry.
Well, just before we move on to the nightmare, David, what you just described is the current mode of creating all types of artificial intelligence. So it's called reinforcement learning.
Correct.
And then we have different methods of searching and optimization, probably about 15 different algorithms, each searching in a different way, but the principle is absolutely the same. How interesting. I completely agree with what you said, that we can only create what is within us. Now, isn't that true? But we're not going to be ever limited because this mechanism that we have is so perfect. So who knew, talking about dreams from a point of view of psychology and from metaphysics will also link into technology and computer science and data science. So it's amazing how these things actually come together perfectly. I'm really elated with this development.
Yep. Man can only do what man has done. Okay. What we create inside, we create outside. The nightmare. You guys might be familiar with it. Everybody was. Listen, I tend to think of the nightmare, and there are different kinds of nightmares. So this is going to be a difficult topic. Every time we do a show, I keep thinking this probably requires more than one show to cover, right? And so the nightmare is amplified reporting. Okay, the nightmare is amplified reporting. And the nightmares are usually filled with symbols and such like. And they're a class of dream that usually comes from the unseen world. Almost always. That's not simple reporting. You don't simple report a nightmare. You don't. You don't have precognitive dreams about nightmares. Well, sometimes you do, actually, for that matter, like car crashes and stuff like that. Precognitive, listen to your dreams. The nightmare is amplified reporting. The nightmare is kind of like the universe saying to you, you're not listening? Pay attention to this. I'm going to give you an amped up version of a dream, right? So that you can't avoid it. And so a lot of people can't remember their dreams when they wake up. They say, oh, I can't remember my dreams. I'll give you a simple way of remembering your dreams when you wake up. Drink water before going to bed. You're probably wondering what the hell, how is that going to work? Because your bladder will be full. And every time you have a dream, you have a bunch of body processes that are going on because you're experiencing the dream. And it's going to trigger you to wake up to go pee. See, it wasn't complicated. Put water in your bladder, right? Don't pee the bed. You're not going to pee the bed because you have processes for that. Theoretically, you have processes for that. I would hope that you have processes for that. But if you are drinking water and you're dreaming, it's going to trigger you to wake up. And in that instant, you will remember the dream. You won't go 8 hours and then try to remember a dream that you had 6 hours ago. It's going to trigger you to wake up to go pee, and then you get the pad and pencil that's by your bedside, I would hope, or your phone, and speak about it, go pee, go back to sleep. Strategy is everything. I think about these things a lot. And so I want to tell you guys a little bit about the nightmare scape, the nightmare realm. The nightmare realm is a realm where you come to sometimes when you're not listening, but also when it is that you need to pay attention in a very intense way. So there are lots of symbols that we get around, and when dream interpretation is usually used in the nightmare realm, but in metaphysical dreams as well. So there's a very fine line between metaphysical dreams and the nightmare realm. So a nightmare realm can also be precognitive. So let's do the classes of nightmares easily. Simple nightmare, I'm being chased by I don't know what. Being chased, and you have fear, and you're running, and all of that stuff. That's a simple nightmare. Compound nightmare is when you're being chased, combined with the world is ending, and there's red, the sky has turned to red, and there's ash falling, and then you move into a room where somebody else is trying to kill you, and so on. Compound nightmare. Intense. And then you have the metaphysical type of nightmare where you are trapped, held down in a hellscape of your own, and it doesn't change, and it's long and unwinding, and you wake up and you experience catatonia. In case you wonder what that is, it's when you wake up and you can't move. You wake up and you're sealed inside your body. And that is more of a metaphysical type dream where you've experienced an astral body projection, you have not reintegrated properly, and oh no, it's not good. It is definitely not good. It's very scary when you wake up and you can't move. And for those of you who have experienced this, you all know what I mean. You try to panic. You try to panic as opposed to trying to reintegrate. Amer, I'm going to pass the ball over to you, but we're going to stay on this topic because nightmares are very interesting.
Absolutely. So whether they're simple nightmares or compound nightmares or something of a metaphysical nature, usually there's some sort of warning involved.
Yeah.
So it could be a warning of impending danger that your mind, your subconscious has picked up on, but it hasn't reached the conscious mind. It's trying to give you this information or warning of something happening in the physical reality. Or it could be something related to your health. Again, some sort of warning coming up, showing you this in symbols. Or it could be the result, now let's move to the metaphysical domain where you're actually under attack, right? Somebody is energetically messing with you, and that could most definitely cause nightmares. But again, in that nightmare that you experience, you're becoming aware of the danger, that there is external influence here. So it's important, although these nightmares are not pleasant, they are frightening, they are traumatic, they are unpleasant. It's important to be able to set aside that emotion and try to observe the symbology of what is happening there, because the subconscious works with symbols. Many aspects of consciousness work symbolically before that language is established. Before you become a lucid dreamer, for example, where this becomes very, very smooth. There's no need for those traumatic symbols to be implemented any longer. But please pay attention to the details of what is happening. If you meditate upon this, then in a state where you're conscious and in control, you choose to go into a meditative state and analyze, focus, give some energy to understanding these symbols. It'll reveal very important facts that you perhaps were not consciously aware of before this. Now, once you're aware of the nature of the warning, then you have many, many different approaches to choose from and how to avoid the danger or fix a problem. Don't be afraid. That's my biggest advice. Set aside that fear. That fear is the base nature that is coming into operation. Rise above the base nature. Use your higher faculties like analysis, like future permutation analysis, like drawing from past and future to decode that unknown language that it appears to be frightening. Once you get the message, then the dream is over. So once you come into understanding and integrating the cause, the root of the unpleasant dreaming, it'll greatly attenuate the frequency and severity, and finally they're going to go away. With metaphysical stuff, you can then perhaps step up your protection, do some ritual work before sleeping, bathe, wash the body, or take a salt bath. Use different kinds of crystals as you pray upon them and empower them. And then before sleeping, you can probably use a revocation. Many of these, in fact, I know as a point of fact in our community, Kylie Palmowski has done a revocation for nightmares. That's very potent. So ladies and gentlemen, there are many strategies. Once you know what the problem is, then that's the battle won 90% of the way. You can employ different ways to protect yourself or avoid danger.
Yeah, I tend to think that people try to become dream interpretation people. And I want to say that I am a little bit against that because there are lots of books on dream interpretation. And one size does not fit all in dream interpretation, okay? There's no agreed, like a tree in my dream is not a tree in your dream. A cup in my dream. So when people read these books or dream interpretation, I tend to be skeptical, okay? Now, there may be some common denominators because there's certain concepts attached to a tree, as an example, that are, okay, there's growth, there's, I don't know, sunlight, there's photosynthesis, whatever. There's certain concepts that are attached to a tree. But then a tree in somebody's dream could be Sefer Yetzirah, okay? From the book Sefer Yetzirah, the Sephiroth of the Kabbalistic tree. For a gardener, it might be, I don't know, a mango tree, okay? So a tree is not just a tree. So guys, put down the dream interpretation books, because the stuff that's in your dream, the symbols and stuff that are in your dream are for you. They are for you. And so how do you interpret dreams in your own right? Kate, I can answer that question. How do you interpret your dreams? If you were journaling and writing down the elements of your dream, then you should take the elements of your dream, sit down, go into a meditative state and ask the question, what does this mean for me? Because, you know, dreams are a little bit passive, but meditation can be very controlled as well. And so take the tree from the paper, go into your meditative state, because your mind reported it in a dream for a reason, a nightmare for a reason. Take the symbol and ask and meditate on the symbol and see the symbol in your mind. See it in your mind and ask, what is this here for? What is it trying to tell me? That's how you do dream interpretation. Stop buying books on dream interpretation, because the author of the book saw the tree and he saw the Kabbalistic tree of life, or he saw growth and expansion. And you might just be thinking about planting a mango tree in the backyard, or banana tree, or any other kind of tree. You guys get my point? That is how we do dream interpretation. It is always suited to the user. You don't enter a password into a computer and then somebody else's computer, and then your files come up. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. I understand that there's such a thing as cloud computing, where a tree is a tree. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. But when you're dealing with nightmares, generally speaking, a tree is a local file on your hard drive that you absolutely need to log into and figure out what's going on in there before your entire system crashes. Amer, over to you.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's personal. And so this is also true for different types of channelers, different people who channel different beings, and the language that they establish is absolutely unique. And now dreams is some sort of a mechanism interacting with your psyche that is going to be as unique as your fingerprint. Absolutely correct. But then again, please keep in mind that these symbols are chosen purposefully. That means, as David absolutely correctly mentioned, if you then journal these so they don't become forgotten, and then you meditate on the elements, the meaning will be revealed to you. And sometimes it's very profound, that a certain thing that seemed scary or traumatic or awful is actually trying to communicate something really, really important and useful. So meditation. I mean, how many times have we come across this meditation? It's the key to everything, really, you know, key to your ascension, key to your progress and growth, key to your success and health. And what do you know? Key to interpreting your dreams.
The last kind of dream we want to tackle today is the metaphysical dream. The metaphysical dream is when you're having direct experience in the unseen realms. When you are floating with the orbs and you're experiencing planes and dimensions that are Yeah, not of this world, not of this earth and not of this world. So the first question we got to answer is, how do you know I'm having a metaphysical dream? Well, let's put it this way. This is how you know you're having a metaphysical dream and how you pass them out. In a metaphysical dream, the rules of nature do not apply. So the rules of space and time do not apply. It's quite simple. So as an example, if you are flying, you're having a metaphysical dream. If you are flying, you're having a metaphysical dream. There's gravity here. Gravity is of no account in that dream. That's a metaphysical dream. If you're shooting lasers out of your eyes, that's having a metaphysical dream. Does that make any sense to you guys? If you are teleporting from one place to another, flying above the ocean and stuff like that, that's a metaphysical dream. Because the rules of the universe that you experience in this dense reality do not apply in that dream. You have a metaphysical dream. If you're talking to dead people, as an example, that's usually an indicator you might be having a metaphysical experience. And it's unfortunate, and people ignore those dreams. Any kind of dream that you ignore is a bad thing. If you're talking to dead people in your dream, you better listen, get real comfortable and have that conversation. Have that conversation. I have had to learn these things. Okay, I've had to learn these things as of recently even. Have that conversation, get the information that is being relayed to you in full. Do not forget it. Do the water test, drink some water, make sure that you wake up, reach for that pad and pencil or that phone or that device or that recording device that you have. They sell micro recorders in any department store. Record what has happened immediately before your memory fades. And then deal with it later, whatever it is. If you're having a dream with entities, I don't care whether they're demons, angels, goblins, gnomes, fairies, I don't care, dragons, I don't care what you're having that conversation with. That's a metaphysical dream. You don't see any things flying out here, fairies or whatever else flying out here. It's inside your head. That's a metaphysical dream. Write it down. Because whatever the entity is that you're speaking to, for whatever reason, it's inside your head for a reason. It's a kind of channeling that's happening there. And it doesn't matter who the entity is. The message is what's important, not the messenger. People get caught up on the messenger. Oh, I spoke to, I don't know, a goblin in my dream, or a fairy, or a dragon, or whatever else. What's important is the message, not the messenger. Because listen, the unseen realm has many, many facets to it. And what comes to you for a reason. Sometimes you don't particularly want that kind of experience, but you need that kind of experience. And so you could try to shut it down. Absolutely, you can. Or you can listen to it. And the last thing is that catatonic experience that you experience when you wake up and you're locked. You're locked in your body and you can't move. Well, you haven't reintegrated because you went traveling. You went traveling, and that is a sign that you've had a metaphysical experience, and you better be prepared. Oh, by the way, for those of you who freak out when you have catatonia, let me give you some advice on how to get it back, because one of the things that people are afraid of is that they'll stay in that state permanently. Number one, you won't stay in that state permanently as long as your heart is beating. Number two ways of dealing with catatonia when you wake up and you can't move. Freaking out would not be the right way to go. Okay? I'll give you two methods of dealing with it. Concentrate on your heartbeat and accelerate it. make it beat faster, because you can't move, but your heart is a subconscious, has a subconscious reaction to your mind. Your mind is telling your heart beat fast. So consciously accelerate it. It'll speed up. It will speed up, even if it's a very slight speed up. It will speed up, and you will integrate faster. You will wake up. That's number one. Number two is the small movement. The finger. Do this, this. That electrical impulse doesn't require a lot of energy. It doesn't require a lot of energy. But if you do this, your body gets the idea, okay, he's waking up. We need to integrate really quickly. These are two methods for those of you who would experience this. Please remember what I said. Remember what I said. Remember these solutions. Play this back if you need to. Because one time in your life, you're going to experience catatonia. It's going to happen eventually. And when it does happen, freaking out is not going to be good for you. You wake up with palpitations and all sorts of cold sweats and stuff like that. It's not really healthy. Amer, I guess that is my spiel in terms of the dreams. I guess over to you, and the last word is yours.
Well, thank you so much, David. So, esteemed ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to metaphysical dreams, dreams that have a spiritual significance, it's often when your allies, let's say your divine ancestors or deities or highly elevated beings, are offering something to you. And of course, the rules of this existence, this reality, one of the most fundamental ones is free will. Mm-hmm. So they cannot force gifts upon you. They cannot force memories of past life abilities upon you. They cannot force missions upon you. They can only point to the doorway, but it is absolutely up to you to choose freely and consciously to walk through these doors. Now, it could be something that if you choose to accept, it will lead to the awakening of a certain type of gift that you were not aware of. It's a gift from one of your ancestors coming telling you, hey, this has been in our bloodline for time immemorial. This is your birthright. All of us could have done this. We could do this, and we did this. Now it's up to you to take the mantle. Do you choose to do so, or would you like to remain asleep? Or you may dream of a deity, again, offering you something in exchange for something that will result in the highest good of all. Do you choose to do so, or do you just think of this as a nightmare? Because a lot of times these things are overwhelming. The enormity and profundity of what is being exposed to you is very, very great. First of all, set aside fear. Number two, as my esteemed colleague mentioned, journal this stuff, because unfortunately that mechanism of long-term storage in the memory is not perfect. You only have a very limited window of time to consolidate this, or so to speak, anchor it in this reality. And then you absolutely have the option to meditate upon it, unfold the message for your conscious mind, and then freely choose to go for it or not go for it. And that requires an element of meditation then. But from personal experience, I can tell you, you will not be disappointed if you answer the call from your divine team, your divine ancestors, the cosmos. We're here to do jobs that are beyond the daily grind, making money and surviving, going to your job, coming back exhausted, going to sleep, and repeating that. That's not what we're meant to do all our life. Some things come along that are very, very significant, not just personally, but for everybody. So I suppose that's how I'd like to look at these sometimes traumatic dreams. There's something better if you just have the bravery to uncover it, brush the dust off.
Excellent, excellent. And so for those of you who are dreaming of a white Christmas, we want to tell you that you should listen to those dreams of a white Christmas, and it might be a blizzard coming your way.
You never know.
It might be a visit coming your way, all right? Or as the case may be, or you might have had too much cocaine. I don't know. I gotta put that out. So, guys, this has been our show for today. Thank you so much for joining us. We really enjoy doing these shows, and we will be back next time. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.